Hi guys, this is Cindy. I had a couple questions about the intake forms, and the video I did before wasn't very detailed, and I'm working on creating a nice polished video tutorial, but that is going to take some time. So in the meantime, I thought I would throw together this Facebook Live one and we'll go through from start to finish creating a form. The last video was kind of designed for if you'd already been using the intake forms. So if you haven't used them at all, then we really need to go through all the parts of it. So we will put this on here and hopefully this will help answer some questions. Just a heads up that I am not able to see any questions or comments that you make on the Facebook Live while I do a screen share. So if you do leave any questions, I will come back and answer them after the video. So in your account, if you go under clients and client intake form, create form, here I've already got a couple that I've made, but you should have just one that says default form, and that is a basic medical intake form that we have in there for you. So you can go in and edit the name of it and change it to medical history intake or intake form 1 or whatever. So, I just put the description of my new client medical history because this is one that I would be sending to every new client. Personal information, since this is for like new clients and their medical history, I definitely want to require that they have to leave their personal information like their name and their phone number and their address. For follow-up forms, you might want to not have to require that, because if it's like a COVID form that you're sending to a client before every appointment and it's an existing client, then you may want to leave that blank so that they don't have to fill out all that information every time. The personal information will still show on the form, it just won't be required, so they can leave it blank and still send in the form. So for my main medical intake, I am going to want to require that, and then you can save. And then if you go and click onto the name of the intake form, that will open it up where you can edit it. And we've already got these two fields in here for you. There's two sections, massage information or medical history. And you can click onto those and change those names. So if you don't even do massage, you can go in and change that to whatever name you want. And then the display order, this will be first before the other section. So you can change those orders if you want for how clients fill those out. And you could change the title of medical history as well if you want. So we can go in, first of all, let's go see what the form looks like. If you go hover over the Actions button and click Preview, it will open in a new tab, and I just have to make sure that it's showing you the new tab. Yeah, I don't really know how to do that. Sorry, I'm still kind of learning Facebook Live here. It's only letting me show one screen, not the one I want. Anyway, if you click that, it will open the intake form in a new tab so you can see what the existing one looks like. So then to make changes to it, you can use it as is, or you can start fresh with a whole new one, or you can just take pieces that you like and leave whatever you don't like. So if you go to edit the section, here's what we've already got in here. On the right, we'll show you what questions we have. And then on the left, there's the add new field or edit field. So if you want to change something here, it goes into edit field and you can add whatever right there. Or if you want to do a whole new field, there's different kinds you can do. So a text is, well, actually, let me go through what we've already got and I'll kind of show you how I did it. So this first one, have you experienced a professional massage or bodywork session? I made it required, so that will show the red asterisks and they won't be able to send in the form without answering this question. So for this, I just did the radio, I think it's the multiple choice is the same. That's what the type is. And then down here we've got the options, yes and no. If you had something that you wanted to ask more, have more options to, you can click add option and it'll add, I don't know why it's flipping up like that. Anyway, you can add more answers to that. So that's like the multiple choice style. This next one is a text style of field. So it just gives a short area for them to answer your question. This one I don't have required. Again, you can change these to whatever you would like. We used the text style again for what are your goals for today's treatment. And then I used check boxes to specify light, medium, or firm. And that's not required, but so they can go and check all of these if they wanted to, or none of them. Then for my policies, first of all, I put it is required, so they definitely have to check this I agree box. So I did this in check boxes rather than like a paragraph because the paragraph style won't necessarily show as a checkbox for them to have to agree to. Or you could add more options in there if you wanted to. Or if you don't like any of these sections, you can just hit the red minus button and that will delete that section. So here's like the new one that I started to add. So I think the only one we didn't cover in that was paragraph. So if you do a paragraph, it's like the text field, it's just a longer description. So you could put whatever here, asking them to explain something that might take a whole paragraph or several sentences, and then if you wanted to put some kind of additional description in there. So there is info down here for minimum and maximum length, so you should be able to work with it if you have a lot of text to add. It should be okay. So after you've adjusted that area of the form, you can go and click Save Form. And then we can go to the medical history section. And so we've already got these ones built in for you. You can go in and add or subtract or make your own. You can click into it to make any changes that you'd like. So here I use the paragraph style and just put in, please read and agree and, let me know if you have any other further conditions, and they could put that in that paragraph field right there. This I left as a paragraph, even though it's kind of a yes or no question, but I'm hoping that they would elaborate, so I made it as a paragraph. And then down here we did check boxes for them to check yes if they have any of the following. So I don't have that required because they might not have any of these, but another option would be to require that and have the last option as none of the above. You just want to make sure that you don't have something like this without that option and have it required, and they wouldn't be able to send the form in. And it will let them know that these areas are required, but sometimes people don't uh, look closely at the notification of why it didn't go through. um, so you can add more options over here, and you could see that it would add it right up here. So you can customize it however you want. And then the last area, I just added a paragraph, box for them to add whatever other information they wanted to let me know. So after you make changes there, you're going to come back up to Save Form. And then again, you can hover over the blue Actions button and click Preview for the form to open in a new tab so that you can see what it looks like. If you want to send this form to several of your clients at a time, say you know that you're seeing, certain clients tomorrow, you can just click into here and either choose them from the drop down or just type their name in and send an email with that intake form to all of those clients all at once. Okay, now we're going to go back to create form. So I've already started on a COVID and another example here. If you only have the one form, then that will be the default form and that will be the only option to send to clients. But once you create multiple forms, there will be a drop-down menu for you to choose which form you want to send to them when you're ready to send that. So let's just start off with a whole new one. Hover over the Actions button and click Create New Form. And we will make this a COVID specific form. You could name it whatever you want and say whatever you want. So here I probably won't require personal information because these are going to be going to my existing clients that I already have on file. And click Next. And again, with this new form, it's going to give us these two sections, massage information and medical history. So we can go in and change those however we want. So I am actually going off the FSMTB guidelines for an intake form for COVID. And this is the form that we are going to be adding to all accounts. So if you don't feel like going through and creating this, just hold tight for another couple of days probably, and we will have this already in your account. But this is a good way to show you how to make however you want anyway. So I have in another tab this guidelines form from the FSMTB. And I'm just going to take pieces from that. So, have you been tested for COVID-19 is the first question. So first, I'm going to go and change the massage information and make it COVID-19. Then I'm going to edit field, and I'm going to just go into these existing ones and change them. And that's going to be required. They have to tell me if they have been tested for it. And then the next question is, if yes, what type of test did you have? So here we could just change this to that question. And then you won't have that required because their answer may be no. When was your test and what were your results? So I'm going to go into here. And then I want to ask another question right here. I'm just going to duplicate that field and go into there. And what were the results? And again, I won't have those two required because maybe they haven't been tested. Okay. Then here, this is check boxes, and actually I'm not going to want to use this at all, so I'm just going to delete that. And then I'm going to delete this policy down here too, because that's not specific to COVID necessarily. I'll just remove that field. Now I'm going to do some new fields. So the next thing I want to ask is, have you been in places with a high infection rate within the last 2 weeks? If yes, please explain. So I could do this two different ways. I could do it as a paragraph with room for them to explain, or I could have a checkbox, yes and no, and then if yes, explain. So, you could choose how you want to do it. We'll do a paragraph here, and then you can just click into here and put your question there. And then you can require that, so they'd have to say yes or no. And then down here we could say an example, and if yes, please explain. So then it shows up there. Next, we have got, please check any of the following if you've experienced any of the following as a new pattern since the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm going to make these like check marks. So we're going to do a new field, and we'll do check boxes, I mean. And I will put that question there, and then I'm going to go through and add all of the symptoms in each checkbox. So we'll do fever, go to the next one, chills, add another option, and I'm just like copying and pasting from this suggested form on FSMTB. So, I don't necessarily have to type everything out. Kind of saves you a little bit of time and stuff. Just adding an option for each symptom. So what you're not seeing is I'm switching over to the other tab where I have that form up, and I'm copying each symptom and then coming back over here and pasting. If I knew how to show you that on Facebook Live, I would, but I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so there's quite a few here. But there's no limit on how many you can add, so that is helpful. And then, as I'm adding them, they're showing over here on the right, so you can see right away what you're doing. Okay, and that's all for that. So if you're going to make this required, then you should have at the end, none of the above that they can check. Or you can have it not required and just say, check any of the following. Next, we're going to just do a question. So we will add a new field, and we can just do the text. Do you have any new discomfort or exertion with exertion or exercise? So if you leave that required, they'll have to say yes or no, or you could change it to a checkbox one with yes or no. And then we basically want them to agree that, they're telling us everything, and So let's see. Yeah, paragraph isn't really going to work the way we want it to there. If we do a checkbox and then we put in the statement that they're agreeing to, and then type I agree and delete the second option, so then this will make them have to check that box saying that they agree. I think another way I have done it on the existing form is with, it may be text or with paragraph, I'm not sure. But it's basically along the same thing as I made it so that they have to check that box since we don't have the ability to actually do a signature. So that's all that's on the intake form for COVID for FSMTB. And I will post the link where I got this as well. But again, this is the one that we're working to add into your account. So you don't have to recreate this if you don't want to, or if you want to use a different intake form. This hopefully just walks you through different ways of how you can do it. So then we're going to save form. And then we've got the medical history one. Well, I don't really need that at all for my COVID form, so I'm just going to delete that section. So now we've got it just the COVID part, and we can go and preview the form and see what it looks like and go and send it to whatever clients. And then you'd want to hit send. So that is how to create them. You can send them from this page. You can also send them from within your client files. If you go to the intake form, you can send intake form, or up here, send intake form. And then it will give you a drop-down box of your different intake forms, and so you can choose which one you want to send. When you are scheduling a client, I don't have any services in here, but that doesn't matter. Under the email client, there's an option to email the client intake form. So if you only have the default one, it will only show the default one. But if you have more than one, there will be a drop-down box, and you can choose which one you want to send after you schedule their appointment. And then that is also what will show when a client schedules online and you go to approve their appointment. It will show that same option to send them an intake form and the drop down box to choose the intake form to send them. So I think that's about it. I'm going to